record button. Okay, now it's apolitical. So we're going to be learning tonight, we're going to be learning, where are we? We're learning Daf Mem Amud Beis, starting at the very bottom, the last line of Mem Amud Aleph, and we'll be learning through, as you can see, Mem Aleph Amud Aleph is a regular Daf. Mem Aleph Amud Beis is really very short. So we'll carry over to the 2 dots on Mem Beis Amud Aleph for tonight, still within a similar time frame, possibly shorter. Really, again, very practical, very hands-on Gemaras. We're going to jump off the page for Samari Makomos into just a critical ritva that really helps us to understand the sugya better, and as well some halacha lemaisa with a Mishnah Brura. So let's get started. We are right now on the bottom of Mem Amud Aleph, the last line. We had just learned that there were some violations of halacha as it related to steam rooms and schwitzes and people lying about the schwitzes and saying that they were showering, saying that they were using a schwitz when really they were showering, and the Gemara referred to them as overei avera. Now, some of the things they were doing were isurei d'oraisa, but some of the things that they were doing were isurei d'rabanan. So on that point, the Gemara jumps off and says as follows, last line, Mem Amud Aleph. Omar Rava, Haiman de Avar Adarabanan, Shari Lemikrele Avaryana. What do we see from this particular brisa that's right above us, from the Tanu Rabbanan that's in the middle of Mem Amud Aleph, the whole story about whether or not you're allowed to use a shvitz on Shabbos and Yom Tov. So we see from there that anyone who violates an Isser Derabanan, de Avar Adarabanan, Shari, it's permissible, Lemikrele Avaryana, it is permissible to publicly refer to that person as an Avaryan, as a sinner. So that is the din here. Kiman, who is this like? So answers the Gemara, Ki Hai Tana. That's like the Tana of our Mishnah. Look at Rashi on the top of Mem Amud Beis. The first Rashi, Ki Hai Tana, to Amar La'el, Mishe Yischilu Overei Avera, Yischilu Le'esor Hazeya, Hare Lo Ne'esra, Ella Al Yadei HaRochtzin B'chamen Demei Esmol, Be'omrim Mazian Anachnu. So this quoting the brisa that we learned, the Tosefta that we learned in the middle of Mem Amud Aleph, you're therefore allowed to call out someone who is violating Isurei D'Rabbanan. The Meforshim here are very clear that it's only true when there's a benefit to it. It's not stam that we call people out and call them abaryanim. It's not like you're allowed to put up a Facebook post or any social media post that indicate that someone is a sinner when they do something wrong. That's not appropriate. There's only has to be if they're going to listen to you, or if there's any other benefit to other people. This is the achiluk. Either they're going to listen to you, so you fulfill the mitzvah of tochacha, or by calling out person X, you'll prevent person Y from doing an avera, which is a fascinating loophole, one that we're not used to employing. We don't typically like to call people out, but here the Gemara says that by Dinei D'Rabbanan, it's okay to announce that someone has violated an Isur D'Rabbanan in order to prevent even other people from violating similar Isur D'Rabbanan. I have not seen this as common practice, but seemingly from the Gemara, it's mutter. Is this quoted Ladina? I don't see here that it's quoted Ladina. Okay, let's continue. Top line of Mem Amud Beis. Ambatios shel krachim etayil behen ve'eno choshesh. Amarava davka krachin abal dikfarim lo. We are allowed to go into bathhouses of krachim. Krachim are typically referred to as larger cities, and you can go into them without the purpose. This is on Shabbos, without the purpose of being in the shvitz, even if you end up shvitzing a little bit, but that's not the reason why you're doing it. No problem at all. However, Rava qualifies this and says it's only true by krachim. I should say he really makes a diuk. The language is krachim, and he says it's only true by krachim. Aval the kfarim in smaller villages, one should not go into the mikvahs in smaller villages. Why? My taima kaven dizutrin, because they're smaller. Nafish of lahu, the concentration of the steam in those rooms. They're smaller buildings. I guess the heating method was approximately the same. And if you'd walk in, you would definitely sweat, and that would be a psik reshe. That would be a definite violation. Just for those who have yet to learn this idea, a psik reshe is a term that applies in Hilchos Shabbos, and a psik reshe is when you do a particular action that automatically leads to a violation of halacha. So the classical example of this is if you shech the chicken, it will die. It's a psik reshe. You've taken off its head. That's where the language comes from. Now here we're dealing with dinei derabanan. So some of the Meforshim here point out, it's pretty wild, but some of the Meforshim point out that we see from here that even by Dinei D'Rabbanan, even by rabbinic laws, we have an application of the principle of psik reshe, and that's subject to a major discussion, again for another time, not for here, but it is subject to a major discussion as to whether or not there is even an idea of psik reshe by rabbinic laws, or does psik reshe only apply by Dinei D'Oraisa. We'll touch on this idea in another application later tonight in the Ritva that I mentioned earlier, but not with this sugya, with a different one. It says the Gemara 4 lines down on Mem Amud Beis. Tanu Rabbanan, the rabbis taught us a din. Mischamim adam keneged hamadura v'yotze mishtate petzonim. If a person is very cold, they can stand next to a madura, next to a torch of some kind, a fire pit. They could warm themselves up, and then they can go rinse themselves off in cold, no problem at all. Ubilvad, provided that you don't do the following: shelo yishtate petzonim, first, that you don't first rinse yourself off in cold, and then v'yischamim keneged hamadura. Why is that not allowed? Why am I not allowed to first wash myself in cold water and then go dry myself off / warm up in front of the fire pit? What would be wrong with that? What, there's bishul? I'm going to cook the water that's on my body. Like, what are we concerned about? It says the Gemara, because you are warming the water that is upon you. So what? Who cares? Who cares if I'm dripping wet and I stand next? I'm not going to let myself burn. So what is the actual halachic concern of letting myself warm up next to a fire pit if I'm wet from a mikvah, if I'm wet from a bathhouse? Take a look at the top Tosfos, who is bothered by this as well. We're going to look straight to the third line of Tosfos, and Tosfos says, "V'hacha de asurin dibra maschel mipnei." Third line, "V'hacha de asurin." Here, why do we say that it's asur when a person is wet to stand next to the fire pit? Says Tosfos mefarish Riva. Riva was one of the Balei Tosfos. The dome kirochetz b'mayim chamin. We're afraid that someone might incorrectly make the jump, that you warmed yourself, that you showered with warm water, which is for sure asur, and that's for sure not allowed. We did see some Tanaim that did allow that, but we hold that we're not allowed to do that. That was the conclusion of the Gemara, and that we follow Rabbi Yehuda from that triple shita brisa we saw the other day. We saw it 2 nights ago on Thursday. So therefore, says the Gemara, that's why here you're not allowed, even if the water's cold. We're afraid someone may make the mistake of thinking that you actually took a hot bath, and yet and therefore we're not allowing you to stand next to a fire pit when you are just out of the water, even if the water is cold. Continues the Gemara, Tanu Rabbanan mecham adam alontis umanicha al gabe umanichan al b'nei me'ayim b'Shabbos. A person is allowed to take an alontis. If you look in Rashi, you'll see an iteration of the word towel. Tiola. This really does define as a towel. Rashi there continues, "Venerli beged shemistavkin bo." It's a garment that absorbs. It's exactly how we would define a towel. Umanicha al b'nei me'ayim b'Shabbos. You can pour hot water on that and put it on your stomach if you have a tummy ache. You know the pictures of these hot water containers. You could add boiling hot water if you have a headache, an ache on your body. I remember as a kid, we used to have one in the house. If you had a headache, you'd fill it up with boiling hot water or with cold, whatever you wanted. It would maintain the heat for a while. And you can use it for your stomach, no problem of refuah, totally fine. Ubilvad, adds the Gemara, as the Tosefta here, however, you have to make sure, you should not take the very hot kettle and put it on your stomach. That's not a good idea for multiple reasons. First of all, b'Shabbos, you're not allowed to do it on Shabbos. And second of all, adds the Gemara, Seichel would advise against it. One should also make sure not to do so because there is a degree of sakana. Someone just asked a question. Hang on one second. Isn't there a certain measurement that is needed to make warming water not allowed? We're not allowed to warm the water on Shabbos. We're assuming that the water was already warmed before Shabbos. The only time one can violate Shabbos by warming up water on Shabbos is if you have a chola sheyesh bo sakana, someone whose life is in danger. Then we can violate Isurei Doraisa. That would only be allowed by chola sheyesh bo sakana. Here we're just assume you had your hot water urn. So there, in theory, one could take that and they could put water on a towel, but you cannot warm up that water on Shabbos. And thank you for the clarification there. I didn't say that clearly. We're not warming up this water on Shabbos. We're taking water that was already warmed from before Shabbos and using it on the towel for our stomach ache. But of course, adds the brisa here, that one is not allowed to then put the actual kettle on your stomach, even with a towel separating, because it's very dangerous. Next case, we're about 10 lines down, Mem Amud Beis. Taner Rabbanan, maybe Adam Keton Mainu Manicho Keneged Hamadura. A person is allowed to take a ketone, which is a canteen, some type of container that holds water, Umanicho Keneged Hamadura, and one is allowed to put it next to a fire. We already learned about this big machloka. Is it a tanur? Is it a kira? Is it a kupach? The various types of. This is not what we're talking about. Lo bishvil sheyechamu. We're not trying to boil the water. Ella bishvil shetafik tzinasan, just to remove the chill from the water, to make it room temperature, whatever type of change you wanted. It wasn't to do bishul, not at all. That is shita number 1 in the brisa. You're allowed to warm up water to the point that it removes the chill. Second shita in the Mishnah, in this Tosefta, Is it a Tosefta? I believe it is. Yes, it's a Tosefta. And this is the Shita of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, and we'll have to see in a minute what the difference is between the Tanna Kama and Rabbi Yehuda. The Tanna Kama says water is okay. Let's see what Rabbi Yehuda says. Rabbi Yehuda's Omer, Mevia Isha Pach Shel Shemen, a woman can take a container of water, of oil, Umanichto Keneged Hamadura. She too can take the container of oil and put it next to the fire, oil and not water. Lo bishvil sheyavashel, here too, not in order to cook the oil, that's for sure usher. Ela bishvil sheyafasher, just to make sure that it was at room temperature in order to use it to warm up, to put it on one's body if that's permissible. Whatever the usage was, it would not violate bishul. One is allowed to warm it up to remove the chill. Third sheet in the Brisa, Reb Shimon ben Gamliel Omer, Isha sacha yada shemen, a woman can put oil on her hands, umechamamta keneged hamadura, and then she could take her hands and hold them up to the fire and warm up that way. She can also put oil on her child if the child has some dry skin, whatever the case may be. No concern at all. Now, it's very unclear what the Tanna Kama holds. The Tanna Kama only spoke about water, so we don't really know what he holds about oil. So that's the Gemara's question right here. Ibaya lahu, three lines before the Gemara gets to the wider lines. Ibaya lahu, the Gemara asks on this, all right, so the Tanna Kama told me about water, but shemen mahu la Tanna Kama. How does the Tanna Kama hold about Rabbi Yehuda's opinion about the oil? Does the Tanna Kama only allow water, or does the Tanna Kama also allow oil? And here we're going to see a wild machlokas, one that we would never have thought of if we would not have ever learned it before. I have learned it before, and I completely did not remember this at all. It was a total, I can't even call it a chazara. I learned it again for the first time, and it's a crazy idea. Do we say that bishul applies to oil? Let's take a look in the Gemara. So there's a machlokas about how the Tanna Kama holds in regards to oil. Rabbi v'Rav Yosef, these two Amoraim, who just 2 pages ago were arguing against each other, now they're on the same side of the coin. They both said that the Tanna Kama was lenient in regards to oil. Let's see how. And then the contrasting opinion of Nachman Bar Yitzchak Omer le'isura. Now let's go back to the first shita. Rabbi v'Rav Yosef, opinion number 1, who says that the Tanna Kama allows oil. Let's see what that means. Shemen, this is crazy. First long line, af al pi shehayad soledas bo mutter. Oil, even if you bring oil on Shabbos to the temperature of yad soledas bo, a temperature we have yet to speak about, we will speak about today in some degree of detail. Af al pi shehayad soledas bo mutter. Kasavar Tanna Kama, it must be that the Tanna Kama holds shemen ein bo mishum bishul. God forbid somebody says to you, cook on Shabbos or I'll kill you. Go get some oil and put it on the fire. The Tanna Kama holds that there is no iser doraisa of bishul as it relates to oil. Even yad soledas bo, which is our shear for the iser doraisa of bringing a liquid to a temperature at which you violated bishul, here says the Tanna Kama, shemen ein bo mishum bishul. Okay, if that's what the Tanna Kama holds, then what does the next opinion mean to do with the Tanna Kama's opinion? The also Rabbi Yehuda, the second sheet, is to say, L'meimar, no, I disagree with you, Tanna Kama. Shemen yesh bo mishum bishul. Not only is there bishul, but the bishul is not yad soledas bo. It's a way lower temperature, which is, sorry, that's not true. Also, Rabbi Yehuda, L'meimar, shemen yesh bo mishum bishul. The hefshero lo zehu bishulo. And the warming it up to lukewarm, to room temperature is not its bishul. It needs to be yad. So let us go. That's the sheet of Rabbi Yehuda. And then the third sheet on the Brisa, and the Tosefta of Asar of Shimon ben Gamliel Meimar, Shemen yesh bo mishum bishul, the hefshero zehu bishulo. So there's 3 shitas now within our first understanding. We have 3 shitas in our Tosefta. The Tanna Kama says water. Then Rabbi Yehuda says oil. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel also references oil. How do they play out? According to Rabbi and Rav Yosef, they say that the Tanna Kama holds that shemen is perfectly mutter. There's no isser of bishul by shemen at all. Even if a person cooks shemen to yad soledas bo, no problem. There's no isser of bishul by shemen. You cannot cook oil on Shabbos to the point of isser. Comes along Rabbi Yehuda and says, yes, there is. The hefshero lo zehu bishulo. You need to have yad soledas bo. Just bringing it to lukewarm is not the isser. And then the third shita, Rav Shimon Gamliel would say, this is the opposite extreme. Even though it's not yad soledas bo, even though you only remove the chill, you just warmed it up a little bit, then he would say, hefshero zehu bishulo. That's all within the world of Rabbi and Rav Yosef, who explain that the Tanna Kama is lenient as it relates to shemen. that there is no bishul by shemen. We're now 5 lines down in the wide lines. Mem Amud Beis. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak Amar le'isura. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak said that Tanna Kama held that oil was usher. Let's see how he learns it. Shemen afal pishe ein hayad so let us bo usher. Rav Nachman says that the Tanna Kama, who didn't reference oil directly, he held that oil, even if it never reaches Yad So Ledisbo, would be Aser. Kasavar, what does he hold? Shemen Yeshbo Mishum Bishul. He holds that there is an Isser Bishul, the Hefshero Zehu Bishulo, and just slightly warming up the oil would be the Isser Doraisa of cooking oil on Shabbos. The Aser Reb Yehuda Lememar, what would then Reb Yehuda say against the Tanakama? Hefshero Lo Zehu Bishulo. No. Hefshero is not his bishul, not just a slight warming up. It needs Yad So Ledisbo. The Tanakama held that the temperature of the Isser of Shemen is Hefshero, just warming it up. Rabbi Yehuda argues and says, no, it needs to be Yad So Ledisbo. The Aser Shimon ben Gamliel Lemeimar Shemen Yeshbo Mishum Bishul VeHefshero Zehu Bishulo, and the Reb Shimon ben Gamliel seems to agree with the Tanakama to say, you're wrong, Rabbi Yehuda, you're wrong. It's not that Shemen has an Isser cooking it Yad So Ledisbo, but rather Hefshero Zehu Bishulo, just warming it up a little bit is going to be the Isser. So says the Gemara immediately, according to this framing of Rav Nachman, that the Tanakama holds Hefshero Zehu Bishulo, and Rav Yehuda holds that oil can be cooked at Yad So Ledisbo, and then you just explain Rav Shimon ben Gamliel to say the same as the Tanakama, which is Hefshero Zehu Bishulo, that just warming it up a little bit is a problem. Says the Gemara, Rav Shimon ben Gamliel had a Tanakama. The third shita, Rav Shimon ben Gamliel, and the first shita within the explanation of Rav Nachman, Hainu Tanakama, they're the same exact thing. So says the Gemara, a very unclear answer without Rashi. Special thank you to Rashi. Ika beinaihu kila achar yad. It depends how it was done. When there's something that's done kila achar yad, this is a phrase that we'll see throughout the Masech a number of times as it relates to the laws of muksa. Sometimes someone can do something with the world of muksa that's kila achar yad. You have something that's on your Shabbos table that's muksa, you need to move it. So you don't pick it up regular. You carry with a pinky, you carry with 2 pinkies, figure it out. That's called kila achar yad. It's done in a backhanded way. What is the answer here? How do we then distinguish, asks the Gemara, between the Tanakama and Reb Shimon ben Gamliel, who both say, within the explanation of Reb Nachman bar Yitzchak, that oil's level of Isser is, the way we cook oil on Shabbos to the point of Isser is just warming it up slightly. Take a look at Rashi. Rashi says, Dibur hamaschil ika beinaihu, about 2/3 of the way down, a little bit less, ika beinaihu kila achar yad, till the Tanakama, according to the Tanakama, afilu al yadei shinui aser, even if it's done kila achar yad, even if it's done with a shinui in a backhanded way, you didn't warm it up in a regular way. However the weird way was, he would still hold that it would be aser. Masha ein kain, Rav Shimon ben Gamliel would hold that if it was done with a shinui, that it is not aser. And that brings us to the end of the explanation of this machlokes of how the Tanakama holds. Again, Rabbi and Rav Yosef hold that the Tanakama holds that there is no Isser Bishul at all by Shemen. Masha ein kain, Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak holds that yes, there is. It's just Hefshero Zehu Bishulo, a very low standard, but nevertheless more than no standard, which is to say that slightly warming it up is going to be answered. How do we paskin? The Gemara Baruch Hashem gives us an explanation. Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Shmuel, Echad Shemen ve'echad Mayim, Yad Soledas bo Aser, Ein Yad Soledas bo Mutter. Very important, and we do paskin this way. Water, oil, we don't distinguish in regards to bishul. When a liquid goes from cold to Yad So Ledisbo, you have violated the Isser Doraisa. That is how we hold. Very good. Okay, Amar vehechi dami Yad So Ledisbo. How in halacha do we define Yad So Ledisbo? Yad So Ledisbo literally means that your hand will recoil. I touch it, I pull my hand back out. That hurts. It's very hot. Sometimes if I'm, the water's on and I'm just not expecting it, it's just so hot, I recoil my hand. But what if my tolerance for hot water is very low and yours is tremendously high? It's so subjective. So for me, bishul would be with 1 temperature degree, and for you another. For me, it's 102, and for you, it's 106. For another person, still, it's 110. It can't be. It can't be. I'll just borrow a phrase from the Gemara we learned many days ago. You won't be able to, there's no way to paskin. It depends who's cooking. So then the guy has a higher tolerance of temperature. You do the cooking. Just get it up to 106. Don't get it up to 110. That's ridiculous. We need an objective standard. So therefore, the Gemara answers as follows. We asked, Vehechi dami Yad So Ledisbo, Amar Rechava. Rechava answers, Kol shekreso shel tinok nichves. Whenever the stomach of a child will burn, that's how we know the water's too out of stomach. Their stomach lining is a little bit more it's a little bit more sensitive. Their stomachs are more sensitive. So we should not try this at home. They're just using this as an objective standard that we have to project what this is. Or Moshe gives an exact temperature. I don't remember what it was. I think I have a number. I'm just not sure. I don't want to misquote. But Moshe has an exact temperature of what he considers to be Yad Soletispo, and to cook any liquid to that temperature is an Isser Doraisa Mamish. But nevertheless, that's the phrase here is Yad Nichves, that Kol Shekreso Shaltino Nichves. Story time. 2/3 of the way down. Amar Rav Yitzchak bar Avdimi. Pamachas nichnasi achar Rebbe lebeis hamerchatz. Once, says Rav Yitzchak bar Avdimi, I followed Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi into the Beis HaMerchatz, ubikashti lahaniach lo pach shel shemen be'ambati. And I wanted to take some oil, a jug of oil that was in the cold, and I wanted to warm it up in the bath. We'll see soon that this was actually Chamei Tveria, which we learned yesterday was reinstituted as mutter after the Chachamim tried to close off the Chamei Tveria, but re-allowed it when they saw that it was a Gzeira, she'ein hatzibur yicholin lamod. But we'll see soon that that's where Rebbe was. So anyways, Rabbi Yitzchak bar Avdimi had a jug of oil, and he said to Rebbe that he wanted to put it in the hot water of the Chamei Tveria to warm it up a little bit. So let's see. The Omar lo, Rebbe said back to Rabbi Yitzchak bar Avdimi, Tol b'kli sheni v'tein. Take your oil and put it into a kli sheni, meaning fill up a second kli with water from the Chamei Tveria, v'tein, and then put it in there. Now, until now, we're on Daf Mem. We're more than 25% through the Masechta. We've never once heard the phrase Kli Rishon, Kli Sheni, Kli Shlishi. This is our first exposure, I believe, and we don't know anything about Kli Rishon, Kli Sheni, Kli Shlishi. We've never heard anything. So the Gemara instantly is going to say here that we've learned from here that we're allowed to cook in a Kli Sheni, or more accurately, there is no cooking. There's no bishul in a Kli Sheni. But just to give a little bit of a framing about some of the kelim, as Divrei Hakdama, a Kli Rishon is defined in one of two ways: either a fire, either a pot that has a liquid in it that is on top of a fire, or a pot that has liquid in it that was just recently taken off of a fire and it's still Yad. So let us know that is a Kli Rishon. Anyone who cooks in there is Chayv Midoraisa Skila, no questions asked. A Kli Sheni is typically defined as a transferred Kli. It's a new Kli, and because the walls of that second Kli are not as hot as the walls of the first Kli, so therefore it has a lower temperature and a lower capacity to cook. We can see a hint already from here from Rebbe that the likelihood of cooking in a Kli Sheni is much less. Still, however, we are concerned under certain circumstances, especially with foods that cook easily, and therefore we have this custom for those who allow cooking at all in a Kli Shlishi. There are those who don't allow the making of tea, even the making of coffee. There are differences between them. Ask your local Orthodox rabbi. But there are those who don't even allow cooking in a Kli Shlishi. However, it is somewhat customary to cook in a Kli Shlishi. The Shita of the Rav Soloveitchik, he held that cooking tea was even mutter in a Kli Sheni. This is a very unique Shita. The Rav held that you can cook tea in a Kli Sheni, and the reason why was because he held that tea was a tavlin, that tea was a spice, and because it was a spice, that was allowed. And we take food that's very hot and we add spices to them all the time. You don't add salt and pepper to your soup. That's mutter because it's a tavlin, not because there's no bishul in a Kli Sheni, but because it's a tavlin, it's a spice. The Rav takes that to the nth degree. So there are those who said, oh, Givaldik, I'll follow Rav Soloveitchik when it comes to making tea on Shabbos. So just be careful. If you take on all of his kulas, you have to take on all of his chumras. And I don't know that anyone is necessarily prepared to change their general halachic observance to find the kula for drinking tea. But this is a little bit of the background in regards to kelim. I'll just add that we will see that it's not just the kelim themselves, but also pouring. When I pour from a Kli Rishon, that pouring is referred to as Irui Kli Rishon. Is Irui Kli Rishon, as I'm pouring, the liquid that's in the air coming out, is that treated like a Kli Rishon or a Kli Sheni? That's subject to a Machlokas Rishonim as well, I believe in the Balei HaTosfos, between Rabbeinu Tam and some others. So there's a lot of nuance here in regards to the kelim. This is our first blush at it. Let's go back to the Gemara now. And the Gemara says that Rebbe said to Rav Yitzchak bar Avdimi, you could warm up the oil, but it has to be in a Kli Sheni, 2/3 of the way down. V'amar li told the Kli Sheni v'tein. Says Rav Yitzchak bar Avdimi, Shma mina tlas. I learned three things from this interchange with Rebbe. Shma mina shemen yesh bo mishum bishul. Beautiful, right? We just learned this sugya. We don't know which way we paskin, so we find out shemen yesh bo mishum bishul. However, it's not about hefsher. It's not about to that lower temperature, because that would happen even in Kli Sheni. Kli Sheni is very hot. The water was boiling. It was boiling hot. You moved it to a Kli Sheni. So that's number one, is that there is bishul by shemen. The shma mina Kli Sheni eino mevashel, that you can't perform full-fledged bishul. B'shmamina hevshero zehu bishulo. I stand corrected to my previous comment. The third thing that we learned here is that hevshero zehu bishulo, that had he put the oil into the chametz tveria directly, it would have led to that room temperature change of the oil. And that's the third thing that he learned. So he learned three things: that oil is subject to bishul, a klisheni has no bishul, and that the parameter for oil cooking to violate the Isser is that it's hefsher, that it's just warming up. Says the Gemara, just a technical issue. How were they talking Torah in a bathhouse? How were they talking Torah in an ambatya by the Chametz Tveria? You can talk in the bathroom if you're taking a shower. You're in the mikvah, you want to start talking over a sugya you learned in Daf Yomi. How is that allowed? Says the Gemara. How is it allowed that they were even allowed to have this conversation? How could Rabbi even answer him? Says the Gemara, someone is allowed to be meharher, is allowed to think about Torah anywhere, anywhere except for a beis hamercha. It's a place where a person washes themselves, beis hakisei, in a bathroom. If you want to say that it's only true b'lashon chol, amar le amar Abaye dvarim shel chol muter leomran b'lashon hakodesh shel kodesh aser leomran shel kodesh aser leomran b'lashon chol. So how you can't say it in any language, and it seems in a bathhouse. So how are we allowed to have this conversation, even if it's technical things? How are you allowed to say it if it's Torah related? Says the Gemara, Afrushe me'isura shiny. It really depends what you're doing. Let's say that Rabbi Yitzchak bar Avdimi was about to put the oil into the Chametz Tveria. So Afrushe me'isura, to prevent you from doing an Isser, someone in a mikvah is allowed to say, wait, you're not allowed to do that. You can't give a whole shear on it with Marim and Komos. That you're not allowed to do. And Afrushe me'isura, to prevent someone from violating an Isser, that is different. The Ramban here, I got a chance to look this up this afternoon, long Shabbos afternoons. The Ramban here, the Chidushei Ramban, extends this to other things as well, instructional pieces as well. You can't do the mikvah this way, you have to do it that way. This is the ideal way to do X, and you're not allowed to do Y. You can give general guidelines as well. My kids have asked me this before. I would say, we're supposed to wash your head first. The head's Rosh Kol Ha'ivar. I'm supposed to wash our head first in the shower. It's Rosh Kol Ha'ivar. So my kids would say, Abba, you're teaching Torah. But it's instructional. It's instructional. You're allowed to do that. Says the Gemara, Teda, in general, when we see the word Teda, I should say often, it means that we are about to see a proof to what we just learned. What is the proof to what we just learned? That Afrushe me'isura shiny, that in a bathhouse, in a beis hakisei, to prevent someone from violating an Isser, one is allowed to talk Torah, to share the brief halacha. There was a student who followed Reb Meir into the bathhouse. And he wanted to smooth out the ground. Their ground was made out of dirt. They wanted to smooth out the ground. You're not allowed to do that. Rashi here points out because of a principle called mashve gumos. Mashve gumos is that if you have a big bump in the ground and you want to smooth it out because it's bothering you, might stomp on it or flatten it. Mamish nisher doraisa, potentially of choresh, whatever the malacha is, that if a person smooths out the ground, this is considered a tolda of choresh. That is an isser doraisa. Therefore, let's say you're outside and you want to kick around the soccer ball on Shabbos. Mistama, that's mutter. But if you're going to smooth out the ground because of it, that's usher. So don't go create a putting green on Shabbos. That would be totally usher. No smoothing out the ground. So Rav Meir answered the guy in the mikvah. Sorry, you're not allowed to smooth out the dirt. Lasuch lo karka, he wanted to pour some oil on the ground. So he said as well, Amar lo ein sachin, you're not allowed. Alma, what do you see? What was Rav Meir telling this person who followed him into the mikvah? Alma, what we see is Afrushe me'isura shiny. We see that in that case of Rav Meir, that one was allowed to be mafresh another person from an Isser in the mikvah. I can talk Torah to the degree that I'm allowed to prevent you from violating an Isser. And again, with the Chidushei Ramban and other Rishonim as well, I believe the Ran had a similar writing that we are allowed to give instructional information in the bathroom. Hachanami here too, la'afrushe me'isura shiny. One is allowed to separate other people from doing Isurim. I just wanted to share one brief ha'ara here in the Shulchan Aruch. Feel free to take a look at the screen if you weren't otherwise looking. We're looking here in Orach Chaim, Siman Pei Hey, Seif Beis. Right here, I don't know if you can see my mouse, but if you can, it's Seif Beis. Afilu laharer b'divrei Torah aser bebeis hakisei. You cannot think about Torah in a bathroom. Ubebeis hamerchatz. u'b'makom tinofes. You cannot think about Torah in a bathroom. You cannot think about Torah in a bathhouse, and not in a place that's gross. V'hu hamakom sheyesh bo tzoa miraglayim. This applies in a place where there is tzoa, there's fecal matter, miraglayim, or where there's urine, either or. You cannot learn the laws of the merchatz. We'll have to see what this means because we just learned otherwise. Okay, let's get to where we need to get to. So let's take a look at the very last line, the second last word on the second to last line. Ve'im nizdamein lo sham lehafrish midvar ha'aser mafrish. If you have the opportunity to prevent another person from violating an isser, you are obligated to do so. Lehafrish midavar ha'aser mafrish ve'afilu b'lashon hakodesh u'v'inyane kodesh, no problem at all. Crazy Mishnah Brura. Let's go all the way to the bottom of the page, and the Mishnah Brura here says Tivkatan Yud Gimel. Lehafrish midavar ha'asur, says the Mishnah Brura, very important and very halacha l'maisa for most people on the planet. V'hu hadin im nichnas belibo hirhu avera. Let's say that a person was being maharher be'avera. They had inappropriate thoughts, and they were in a makom that they're not allowed to learn Torah. So what do? We learn that you can help other people to violate Isurim by saying, don't smooth out the ground, or don't put the oil into the Chamei Tveria. Fine. What about you yourself? What do we do if a person has inappropriate thoughts and we want to take control of them? Says the Mishnah Brura, Moter lehar hersham b'divrei Torah, mipnei shezehu kamo lehafrisho me'isr, for yourself. It's preventative for a person to say, wait, hold on, let me get back into a sugya, and then I'll be able to distract myself from Hirhuri Avera. And the Mishnah Brura here makes a tzushtal. This is from the Sefer HaChasidim in the Shar Tzion. He indicates this is from the Sefer HaChasidim in Oskatan Yud Tes, that if a person's having those thoughts, then they are allowed to then prevent themselves from further Isser by learning Torah. Someone just said something privately that they heard a psak from a willig that you can listen to shiurim while in the shower. I presume it's under this Mishnah Brura's parameters, but not stam. I've never heard that before. I'm just saying, and I'm no posek, just based on this Mishnah Brura. We just saw that in a Beis HaKisei, a person's not allowed to be meharher. Our bathrooms are different. We've spoken about this before. We saw Tosfos, I believe in Brachos, that references our bathrooms as what are referred to as Beis HaKisei Shel Parsim, because there's actually no tsoa or urine in, unless you have little kids, and then there's every risk that your toilet's filled at any moment of any day. But in general, if the toilet's flushed, then it's really not a regular bathroom. It could be that there's a tzeruf of things going on, but certainly if it's preventative for hirhurim, for you have a Mishnah Brura Mefurish to rely upon. I haven't heard the psak in any other frame, but I could hear a svara to say so, except for the fact that a person's undressed. And how do we separate the fact that it's mafsik libo asa'irpa? We should be learning Torah. That was one of the reasons why in the story we learned recently with Rabbi Yeshua, with Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, that they buried themselves in dirt to make sure that they could learn Torah, because mafsik libo rosa erba. It must be, I'm guessing, it must be that it's connected to this thing. Okay, let's keep moving. It's already been 35 minutes. We have a little bit more Torah to learn. Where are we? We are 6 lines from the bottom. Amar Ravina, from this story, Shma Mina, from not this story, but the previous story, the one about Rabbi that I had mentioned, where Rabbi and Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Abdimi were in the Chamei Tveria together. Amar Ravina, Shma Mina, Hamavashal b'Chamei Tveria b'Shabbos Chayev. Hamaisa the Rabbi la'achar Gzeira Hava. The Amar Le told the cliche Nivatain. Remember, we learned about Gzeira. The Gzeira was that you cannot be in Chamei Tveria, and then they reversed it to say you're now allowed to be in Chamei Tveria. So Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Abdimi were in Chamei Tveria. What do we see from there? That Rabbi wouldn't allow Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Abdimi to put the oil into the Chamei Tveria, Haraya. Therefore, we see that one is not allowed to do any cooking in the Chamei Tveria. So maybe you're chayiv. Asks the Gemara, that's not possible. Eini, is this true? 4 lines from the bottom. The Amar of Chizda, Hamavashal b'Chamei Tveria b'Shabbos Potter. Can't have it both ways. Which one is it? Is the Chamei Tveria? I don't understand. Was Rebbe sitting in water that was Yatzo lettuce? Well, that's very hot. That's very, very hot. Okay, maybe he was. But it says the Gemara, either way, it's not Chayev Mamish. That doesn't mean we can't learn what we learned from Rebbe. It's not Chayev Mamish. My Chayev Nami de Amar. What was the Chayev that we inferred, that Ravina inferred from the story of Rebbe? Answers the Gemara, Makas Mardus. Makas Mardus is a phrase that the Gemara gives that references the right of the Chachamim to give a person Malkos. However, it's true by Dine de Rabbanan only. By Dine de Oraisa, it's not Makas Mardus, it's Malkos, a different reference, which is a punishment on a Torah level. Let's continue. Amar Reb Zera, Ona Chazise le Rababo deshat be'ambati v'lo yadan I akar ilo akar. I saw Reb Zera, and he was in an ambati. He was in some kind of bath, and it looked like he was swimming. And we know that one's not allowed to swim on Shabbos. The Lo Yadana, he said, I don't know, says Reb Zera, if Rabbi Abba's feet left the ground. Was he actually swimming? Was he walking on the actual ground? Which one was it? Says the Gemara, Pshita, the Lo Akar. It must be that he left his feet on the ground. You're not allowed to swim on Shabbos. Why? How do I know that? Because it's a brisa. The Tanya, Lo Yishot Adam Bibreicha Mayim. A person should not swim in a pool, even if it's standing water in your yard. So why would you have even assumed in the first place that one was swimming? So here's what the Gemara says: Lo kasha ha de lesle gidude ha de isle gidude. It depends. Is it a framed out pool where there's actually a ledge where you can climb out relatively easily? There's less of a problem there for swimming, as opposed to swimming where the sides are made very softly. Rashi here points out, I just want to save time, but Rashi here points out that if you're on like a riverbank and you climbing up the riverbank, you're going to cut down some of the, from the dirt, and it's going to be chofer, it's going to be megabel, it's going to make some type of lush, some mixing of sand and water, very problematic. So that's how the Gemara answers, is that the real issue of swimming is in a scenario where, there are no formal sides to the pool. Rashi gives a second shot as well. You can take a look there on your own time. Another story. V'amar Reb Zera. Reb Zera says, "Ana chazisa le Reb Abo." I saw the Rebbe Abo. Sheiniach yodav keneged panav shel mata. I saw that he put his hands opposite his aver, opposite his private parts. V'lo yadana inaga ilo naga. And I don't know if he actually ended up touching himself in the process of making sure that he was covered. Says the Gemara, Pshita de lo naga, pashut, that a person would not touch themselves. Why? Because the Tanya, the Brisa says, Rebbe Lazar Omer, Kol ha'oches ba'amo u'mashtem kilu mevi mabul ha'olam. Anyone who holds themselves as they urinate, it's as if they brought a mabul to the world. A person should not touch themselves. It can be a gram lehirhor. It can lead to hirhurei avera. Rashi here points this out. All the Rishonim, all the Meforshim, this is where you see a lot of Divrei Torah about this area. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi was referred to as Rabbeinu HaKadosh because he never put his hands below his waist, a remarkable lifetime accomplishment, unbelievable, because we should be concerned about a gram hirhor that it can cause for hirhurei avera. So says the Gemara, Reb Zera, what are you talking about? Of course, Rabbi Abba didn't touch himself. So the Gemara answers from a place unrelated to here. We saw this brisa once before, somewhere in Shas, I don't remember where. Amar Abaye, this is like a separate area of halacha. Let's say that there's an army, and an army is going into a particular city. It's not. The Mishnah says as follows: if there's a group of soldiers that go into a city, b'shas shalom, if it's a time of peace, and they find some wine, chavios psuchos, if wine is open and the city is not Jewish, so then asuros. We assume that it was yayin nesech. We assume that people had made it into yayin nesech, so it would be asur. Stumos, if the barrels were closed, mutaros, they'd be allowed to drink from it, no problem. B'shas milchama, but when there's a war, and this is where we come back to our issue, when there's a war, elu ve'elu mutaros, both the barrels of wine that are open and the ones that are closed are mutar. We assume that there was no time for yayin nesech. There's no time to make it into yayin nesech. What do we see from here? Alma, what we see from this story is kevan de be'ise lo menasche. When there's a degree of fear, a person is not focused on making yayin nesech. Since Rabbi Abahu was afraid, so therefore, because he was afraid, therefore, even if he would have touched himself when he was trying to cover himself, it wouldn't have been problematic because he was fearful, and that's not a time when there's a gram of hirhor. Says the Gemara, what fear did he have? What was he afraid of? And so the Gemara, he was afraid because of the river. What does that mean? Is this true? Just because he had a little bit of fear, a person might have the need that when they're covering themselves, they shouldn't be extremely careful to not touch themselves. What about the gram hirhor? Anyone who covers themselves, it looks like there's a busha from the fact that they have a bris. We should not be doing that. We should keep ourselves uncovered. It's not a busha. It's not a lack of tznius. It's a chefta shel mitzvah. A person should not have any concerns at all. So this we'll see is subject to a machlokes. Answers the Gemara, lo kasha haki nachis haki salik. It depends. When a person is nachis, when they're going into the water to go to the mikvah, they didn't have mikvahs like ours. They're going into a lake. So when they're walking into the mikvah, nobody can see them. Then they can cover themselves up, no problem. That's fine. And haki salik, but when a person's leaving the mikvah, then they should not cover themselves up because other people can see them, and God forbid it should appear as though they're kofir bebriso shel Avraham Avinu. And this was a subject to a discussion in the Amoraim. Ki hade Rava shachi. Rava would fold himself over. He wouldn't put his hands there, but he'd fold himself over to kind of cover himself. Reb Zera zakif, and Reb Zera would stand up straight. And Rabbanan debe Ravashi ki kanach exactly. When they were going in the water, they'd stand up straight and stay fully uncovered. I said it incorrect earlier. When they were going down in the water, they'd be fully uncovered. Ki kasalke shachi. Then when they would come out of the water, they wouldn't cover themselves with their hands, but they would bend themselves over just a little bit to cover themselves. It's a well-known story. Second or third time we've learned this in Shas. I think one of them was in Nida, not in. Actually, it was in Brachos. It's Brachos Kaptalad. The Maseches Shas writes here that Reb Zera wanted to make Aliyah. Reb Zera wanted to move to Eretz Yisrael, and his Rebbe was Rabbi Huda, and his Rabbi Huda had a very unique shita. I spent some time looking into this today. The Rambam didn't seem to hold of this, but Reb Zera wanted to not hear his Rebbe tell him, "Do not go to Eretz Yisrael." So Reb Zera, hava kamishtameit mi de Rabbi Huda. He was ignoring, he was trying to avoid Rabbi Huda's Rebbe, the Boile Mesak La'ard Yisrael, because he was trying to make Aliyah. The Amar Rabbi Huda had a shita, Kola Olam Bavel Eretz Yisrael over Ba'asei. Anyone who is going from Eretz Yisrael, from Bavel specifically to Eretz Yisrael, they would violate an Isra Asation. Amar Bavela Yuv Uveshama Yehu. Based on this pasuk, Rabbi Huda held it was Nisr Doraisa. How could it be that this is a Nisr Doraisa? First of all, Bavel's a random place, relatively speaking, and second of all, it's from a pasuk in Yirmiyah. So that's a huge discussion. The Rambam does not quote this. He quotes the pasuk, but he doesn't quote from Bavel to Eretz Yisrael. He says from Chutz La'aretz in general to Eretz Yisrael. Some Rishonim highlight that Bavel was very unique and that the Talmud Torah there was remarkable, and some held that to leave Bavel to go anywhere was usher. You can't go to Bavel to anywhere other than maybe nowhere, and maybe on the more lenient end, maybe to Eretz Yisrael. And the Talmud Reb Zera didn't hold of this, so he was avoiding his Rebbe. Anyways, here's the story. Omar Ezel ve'eshma minei mil. So I'm going to go here one more stickle Torah for my Rebbe. Va'aisi ve'esak azal, and then va'aisi ve'esak, and then I'm going to come home, and then I'm going to ve'esak. I'm going to go up to Eretz Yisrael. Azal. He found his Rebbe Ashkechei dekoi be'bane, and he was by the be'bane. Be'bane. We've seen this language a few times as a reference to the mikvah. V'ka'omar le l'shame, and here's what he heard. And the two of them weren't interacting. He heard his Rebbe Rabbi Yehuda talking to his servants. Hey, viuli neser, bring me neser. Translates in English as night or some kind of shampoo. Rashi here writes lachofes rosho to clean his hair. Hey, viuli masrek, and bring me a comb. That's all Hebrew, right? Rashi here points out lashon hakodesh. Then he flips. Pischu pumaichu, open your mouths. Ve'afiku havla, and that will bring out sweat. See soon what this means. Continues Rabbi Yehuda talking to his servants. Ve'eshto mimaya, and you should drink from the waters, the be'bane. You should drink from the waters of the mikvah, of the bathhouse. Omar, Reb Zera says, Ilmale basi ela lishmoa davar zedai. Just to hear this from my Rebbe, these 10, 12, 14 words, whatever they were, enough. I've heard everything. Says the Gemara, Bishlam, I understand your response, Reb Zera, to what you heard from Rabbi Yehuda, to what he said to his servants. I understand that heviu neser, heviu mismasrek. That I understand why you said that. Because kamash malan dvarim shalchon mutar lo'omrim b'lashon hakodesh. You can say casual things in lashon hakodesh in a bathhouse. That I got. And paslu pumaychu ve'afiku havla nami. I could even understand that phrase of open your mouth ve'afiku havla, and it will make you sweat. What does that mean? Says the Gemara Kiddush Shmuel. The Amar Shmuel havla mafik havla. The word hevel here is being used in two different ways. Hevel is referred to as the steam, and breathing in the steam leads to sweating. This may not be physiological, but nevertheless, it is something that they believed at the time. We'll see some very interesting common practice medicinal things that they were doing then. Ella, what the Gemara says, what I don't understand about you, Reb Zera, as to why you said you were interested in this last line of your Rebbe, Rabbi Yehuda, was as follows: Ela ashto maya de beibani. Why do I have to drink the waters from the mikvah? Why do I have to drink the waters from the bathhouse? My ma'al yusa. What have I gained? Answers the Gemara with a brisa, second of the widest lines. Memalef amid the Tanya. The brisa says, if you ate and you didn't drink anything, it's as if you've begun to kill yourself. It's bad for the blood. This is bad for your stomach. The illness will start there. We saw this earlier as well. If a person eats and they don't walk Dalet Amos, achilasa merkavas, your food begins to spoil. This leads to halitosis. It leads to bad breath. Hanitzrach l'nakav, if a person has to go to the bathroom before they ate, but their eyes are better than their stomach, and they ate. It's as if you're using a tanner, but before you cleaned out the old ashes, you put in more logs. As before, a person would go to the bathroom, so then they were eating more food. It's not appropriate. So says the Gemara, this could lead to body odor. Rochatz bechamen, this is us. Rochatz bechamen, if you washed yourselves in hot water, below shasa mehen, but you didn't drink from the waters of the mikvah, of the Beis HaMerchatz, domed letanor l'sheisiku mibachutz v'lo siku mibifnim. It's as if you washed the outside of the oven, and you did not wash the inside of the oven. Namely, that one needs to make sure they're washing the insides and the outsides, then the hevel, the liquid, the water that one could drink in the mikvah was considered valuable to drink. Lastly, rachatz bechamen v'lo nishtatev bitzonein. What if a person washed themselves in hot water, but they didn't rinse themselves off in cold? Domele barzel. That's like metal. Sheich nisuhu laor. You brought it in to make the metal stronger. You put it in fire. V'lo hich nisuhu litzonein, and you didn't afterwards put it in cold to make sure that the metal would come out stronger. Rachatz below sach, if a person were to wash themselves below sach, but they would not put oil on afterwards, dome l'mayim al gabe chabes, that's just like pouring water on a barrel. All the water drips off, all of your gain is lost. And that brings us to the Mishnah, the first of two more Mishnahs that we'll learn tonight on the bottom of Mem Aleph Amud Aleph, 10 lines from the bottom. Muliar is a certain type of kli. We'll see in the Gemara what it means. Muliar hagaruf, with all of the ashes removed. Then the halacha is with that kli, shosin heimenu b'Shabbos, you're allowed to drink from that. Again, we'll see more in the Gemara what that means. Short piece of Gemara here. Antiki, this is another type of utensil, machloket samoraim, afal pisha grufa, even if you do remove the coals, ein shosin heimen. Heichi dami muliar. What is this? Muliar kli hagaru, that it has the coals removed. Tana, we learned it from a Tanaic source. Mayim mibifnim, the gechalim mibachutz. I'd like you to imagine a bowl, and around the bowl is a larger container, somewhat similar to a chalmer pot, but on the outer bowl, they have coals. So the water is warmed up from the outer coals. You got to be careful not to burn yourself. So that's what is a muliar hagarov. If it's still hot, but you remove the coals, then one is allowed to drink from it. That's pshat in our Mishnah. Antiki, what is this case of the Mishnah of Antiki? Rabba Amar Bei Kirei, Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak Amar Bei Dude. So this is a machloket. Take a look at Rashi, Dibur HaMaschil, Bei Kirei, first of the longest lines of Rashi, Bei Kirei, Chalal Yesh Bekirei, there's an open space in an oven, Eitzel Chalaleha, Shehagechalim Bo. There is basically two compartments. There's an upper compartment for the oven and a lower compartment for the coals. Umayim Nosim Bechalal Hasheni, and you put water in one of them. The Afal Gav, the Dami Lemuliar, even though they are similar, Mihu Kira Dofna, of the walls of the oven were hotter, and therefore it adds a tremendous amount of heat. So therefore, according to opinion number one, Bei Kirei, is that it's similar to that of a kira of an oven. And because the walls are so thick and they maintain so much heat, therefore the Antiki, as our Mishnah writes, is usher. That's pshat number one in the Amorai. Second opinion, Beidude, continuing in Rashi, 3 lines into the widest lines of Rashi, Yoreh Gedola, huge pot, Osin lehen shtei shulaim. It has a lower compartment to it, but nosin gechalim bein shnehem, and in between the lower compartment and the pot itself, there's some gechalim. V'amayim al ha'elyon, the water's in the upper, and it's just too hot here too as well. Machlokas, if it's antiki, yes or no. That's what the debate is here in the Gemara. And then says the Gemara, just comparing the two shitas, Rabba Amar Bei Kirei, Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak Amar Bei Dude, Manda Amar Bei Dude, according to the shita of Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak, very prominent this evening, we've had him twice. Kol Shekain Bei Kirei, he certainly agrees that the oven would be worse. Manda Amar Bei Kirei, and the one who holds that Bei Kirei is a problem about Bei Dude lo, they may hold that the Bei Dude is not considered antiki, that maybe it's more like the Mulyare Hagaruf, and therefore potentially permissible to drink out of that one. Tanya Kavase de Rav Nachman. We have a shita to support Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak Antiki afal gav afal pisha grufo ktuma in chosni mimenu mimeshen chushta mechamamta. So that's a support for the shita of Rav Nachman that we are talking about the Beidude, and that is how we would then define an Antiki in our Mishnah. That brings us to the last Mishnah on the page, 4 lines from the bottom. This Mishnah is cryptic, and we need the Gemara to explain it to us. Hamecham shepinahu, very difficult just to grammar. Is this the pot that was emptied or the pot itself was removed? We'll see that's machlokes in the Gemara. Lo yitain letocho tzonin. You cannot put cold into that. Again, we don't know what we're talking about yet. Bishvil sheyichamo, in order to warm something up. Aval nosin hu letocha. What are all the pronouns? You can put it into it. Letocha kos, or into a cup. Kedei lahav shirin, to remove the chill. Very difficult Mishnah to understand without the Gemara. Says the Gemara, Maika Amar, what is it that we're talking about? Amar Vada Bar Masna Hachi Kamar. This is Pshat in our Mishnah. Let's follow along. Hamecham Shepina Mimenu Mayim. If you have a pot which you poured out from it water, Lo Yitain Latocho, into that now empty pot, you are not allowed to put Mayim Mu'atim, a small amount of water, Kadesha Yechamu, to warm it up. That's official. You're not allowed to do that. Abal Nosan Latocha Mayim Merubim Kedei Lav Shir, but you can put in a lot of water into this now empty pot, but a pot that's hot, in order to lower the temperature, in order to raise the temperature of the cold water. But it's a lot of water. The result will not be vishal. Turning to the top of Daf Mem Aleph Amud Beis, short blot, the Halom Etzarev. Wait a minute. When you add cold water to hot, you are going to solidify it. That's how we make metal hard. We get it very hot and then we dip it into cold water. Process after. But the more you do it, the harder the metal gets. But when you add the cold water to the boiling hot pot, it's mitzaref. It solidifies the pot. And that's a malacha d'oraisa. It's makeh b'patish. Why are you allowed to do that? Says the Gemara, Reb Shimon he to Amar davar shein miskavein mutter. Because Reb Shimon holds davar shein miskavein is permissible. This bugged me for half the day until I found this beautiful ritva. And why does it bother me? Because davar shein miskavein is when something is permissible, you're allowed to do an action. It's an action X that only potentially leads to act Y, which is problematic. If it's a psik reshe, if it's definitely going to happen, then it's not allowed. So here the Gemara makes no distinction. It says, wait a minute, when you pour the cold water into the hot pot, it's going to be mitzaref. That's nisar d'oraisa. It's makeh b'patish. You're making the pot stronger. And then answers the Gemara, with ease is davar shein miskavein. What do you mean davar shein miskavein? Davar shein miskavein is not permissible when the result is definite. If it's definitely going to lead to an Isser D'oraisa, so that's not allowed. So I found this beautiful ritva today, and the ritva says as follows, where it says here, Mem Aleph Amud Beis Parchina, the Gemara says, V'halom etzaref. Pirush says the ritva, Lav lemeimra dal kol panim yetzaref. It doesn't mean that it's definitely going to result in solidifying the pot and making it stronger. Dim Kain, Heichi Parkina de Reb Shimon, he daha mo de Reb Shimon, he da Amar davar shein miskavein mutter. Lo have a psik reshe v'lo yamus. The dilma lo mitzaref kagon shakli mitzur of harbe mitchila. So maybe it already reached its peak, but to say that it's definitely going to be mitzaref, that doesn't work, because Reb Shimon would never hold that if it's definitely if it's going to be a psik reshe, if it's definitely going to lead to that level of absolute completion of malacha, that's for sure not mutter. Davar shein miskavein is not mutter when it's a psik resha, when it's definitely going to lead to another result. So therefore, the Gemara here with the pshat of the ritva has to be that it doesn't mean that it's definite that it's going to be mitzaref. That's the Gemara's question. Hey, wait a minute, you're adding cold water to a pot, it's going to make it harder, says the ritva, lav dafka. We do hold like Reb Shimon, it's davar shein miskavein. Maybe it'll make it a harder pot, maybe it won't, and therefore it's mutter, because when the result is not definite, that's when davar shein miskavein applies. Maskif la Abaye, your grammar is off. Who was the person who opened this Gemara? This was Rav Ada Bar Masa. He says, Rav Ada Bar Masa, no, you misunderstood the grammar entirely. Why? Because Maskif la Abaye, mide mecham shepina. Does it say that the pot was removed mimenu from it, mayim, that you took water out of the pot, katani? No. Mecham shepinahu katani. The pot itself was moved. We didn't take anything out of the pot. We just picked up the pot and moved it. Says the Gemara, Ela Amar Abaye, because of that he re-understands the whole Mishnah as follows. Hamecham shepinahu v'yesh bo mayim chamin. We forget about being mitzareh. Forget all of that. There's still water in the pot. So now I pick up the pot and I take it off the fire. V'yesh bo mayim chamin. So now our Mishnah says, Lo yitain letocha mayim mu'atim b'shvil sheicham. You cannot put in a container that has a small amount of water in it to heat it up. That's bishul. Aval nosein letocha mayim merubim. You can take a large container and put it into that pot of water, kadei lahav shiran, just to remove the cold. However, a din that our Mishnah doesn't discuss, umecham shepina mayim mimenu. And if in fact you happen to empty out the container, not our Mishnah, just a different application of the law, then lo yitain letocha mayim kol liquor. You're not allowed to do that, because that's us, or you're going to make it harder for Rabbi Yehuda. And we don't allow that, because even with the ritva we've done here, even if it's not definite that it's going to be mitzaref, that it's going to make it harder. The Amar, we hold that Rabbi Yehuda. We hold like Rabbi Yehuda. Remember, the Machlokas or Shimon Rabbi Yehuda was by Davar Shein Miskaben. We just saw previously in the first version of the Gemara with Rav Adam Masna that we hold like Rabbi Shimon that it's Davar Shein Miskaben is mutter. That even if it's that as long as it's not definite that it's going to lead to making the pot harder, it's permissible to add the cold water to the hot pot with no liquid in it. What about here? We says no. Our Mishnah seemingly holds like Rabbi Yehuda, who holds Davar Shein Miskaben is also. Omar Rav qualifies the whole thing. Lo shanu ela lahafshir. All of this discussion is only talking about adding water to an empty hot pot to cool off a liquid. Aval litzaref aser. That for sure is not allowed. You're not allowed to add cold water to a hot pot at all. Ushmuel amar afilu litzaref nami muter. You're even allowed to add in cold water to the hot empty pot. That is permissible even to be litzaref. That's fine. Says the Gemara. Wait a minute. Even if you hold that being mitzaref is okay because of davar shein miskaben, ask the Gemara, litzaref lechatchila mishari. That's permissible lechatchila. Okay, once you're in the circumstance, we paskin like Reb Shimon, maybe, but you're going to let it happen lechatchila. Says the Gemara, ela itmar hachi itmar. No, you misunderstood Rav. We need to understand Rav's qualification of adding water to an empty hot pot. Amar Rav lo shanu ela shir lahafshir. Rav says the only time when it is a problem is a shir lahafshir. The only time when it's not a problem is adding enough water when the only temperature the water that's being added can get to is a medium temperature. Let's call it 75 degrees. But if it's enough water to be litzaref, to make the pot harder, that's aser. And he seems to say that it's permissible. What's implied from here? Reb Shimon's allowing you to be litzaref. Reb Shimon's allowing you to do that. That sounds like Reb Shimon, who holds davar shein miskaben is mutter, but he doesn't hold that way. Amar Shmuel says, let's say you find a piece of metal, burning hot metal. What do you do with it on Shabbos? It's in a dangerous place. He says, put out the fire. The Rishonim here point out that when metal is hot and you cool it down, that's not called mechabe midoraisa. That's not called distinguishing on a Torah level, only rabbinically. So therefore, midrabanan, it's mutter to do that. But makom sakana, there's no yisur derabanan. You can move the gachelas. Fine. Bisal, what's the rest of it? Aval lo gachelas shall eitz. But if it's made out of wood, if that's what's on fire, there's definitely kibui. There's definitely extinguishing by wood for sure. Bisal kadaitach savar like Reb Shimon. And if Shmuel holds like Reb Shimon, afilu shall eitz nami. It should be perfectly fine. Why? Because the davar shein miskaben savar like Reb Shimon b'malacha. Afilu shall eitz nami. Period. Question mark. That how could Shmuel hold of Reb Shimon? We see that Shmuel holds that he doesn't allow the wood to be extinguished. What does that mean? That even davar shein miskaben, he holds like Rabbi Yehuda, not like Reb Shimon. Answers the Gemara, and with this we'll wrap up. The davar shein miskaben, when it comes to the world of davar shein miskaben, you're right. Taka, he does hold savar like Reb Shimon. However, this is not that case. The case of pouring water over some hot wood embers, that's not a davar shein miskaben. That's mechabe. It's just that it's malacha shein tzricha legufa. However, b'malacha shein tzricha legufa savar like Rabbi Yehuda. There he holds that a malacha shein tzricha legufa is nisur daraisa. Granted, he's not putting out the fire because of mechabe. He doesn't want to extinguish. He wants to save people from getting hurt. So his desire is secondary to the malacha. We saw it earlier, Machlokas, Tosfos, and the Rambam about this. Not for now, but that's the Shmuel's distinction, is that when it comes to davar shein miskaben, he holds like Reb Shimon, that davar shein miskaben is mutter. But by malacha shein tzricha legufa, where the result is definite, but my motivations are secondary, then he holds like Rabbi Yehuda that that's an isur deoraisa. Amar Ravina Hilkach. Therefore, we learn from here. Kotes birshus harabim molicho pachos bizal ramos. He's learning actually from the first part of the Mishnah from the Isser Derabanan Kates that if I have something very sharp on a Rishus Harabim, I could walk less than Dalet Amos at a time just to stay under the threshold of an Isser Deraisa to get it out of the way. Ube Carmelis, and if I'm walking in a Carmelis, which is a place that only has a rabbinic injunction I'm carrying, then Afilu Tuva, I could walk even more. And that explains our Gemara to where we are continuing tomorrow night on Mem Beis Amud Aleph with a blot and a half, learning all of Mem Beis and Mem Gimel Amud Aleph. And that brings us to a wrap tonight. Sorry for the longer daf, just a little bit more content. Wishing you all a Shavua Tov and a beautiful night.